My impression of the church before I became a Christian was not good. And I have to admit, I don't think any of it was any firsthand experience, but it was what is perceived in media. It was what my friends told me about Christians, about maybe their bad experience or maybe even their perceptions. So, though most evangelicals that I know don't fit that caricature of how evangelicals are perceived in our culture today, I think we, in a sense, still have to own up to that, to realize that there have been some in the evangelical church who have not added to how Christians are seen to be closed-minded and bigoted and hateful. So own up to that and realize that people have been hurt, real or perceived. But I did not have a good perception of the church, and it took my parents just loving me that broke that paradigm that Christians aren't crazy. Christians, well, crazy, but in another way. Christians aren't hateful. And so we just need to be persistent as Christians to communicate God's word and communicate God's love. I look at preaching the gospel as the most important thing. You cannot preach the gospel without words. But there is, in my mind, some work that needs to be done often. I kind of call it pre-evangelism. That's preparing the soil. You have the parable of the sower, and you have the different soils. The seed is the gospel, the soil is people, their receptivity to the gospel. And you have the good soil, but you have all the other soils that are not good. And those are often our friends who don't know Christ. And how does God use, how to soften that soil? Sometimes it's just relationship. Sometimes it's that relationship that's built over decades that prepares the soil for them to receive the gospel. So don't think that you're wasting time by preparing the soil. It might seem like you don't have that opportunity to sow the soil, but if you sow the seed, if it might seem like you're wasting time sowing seed, but if the soil isn't ready, it can't receive the seed of the gospel. So I would, I think that it's encouraging Christians that just be relentless in how we reach out and how we communicate the gospel and how we communicate God's love to others.